Alrighty, so I have been tasked with the tumbler that we have been seeing absolutely all over the internet. The Motherhood is a walk in the park. I have never done one of those before, so we are gonna figure this out together as we go. I do apologize for the noise. I have my tumblers on, and they like to moan and groan every time I ask them to work. So I basically have teenagers. But let me go ahead and shut them off, just so that I'm not competing over the sound of them. So now we just got one moaning and groaning. So what I like to do before I apply any glitter is I like to get some acrylic paint, find a color that's gonna best match the glitter that I'm using. She wanted like a gold, tan, beige color. I got this from Michael's, so nothing fancy. I already sanded it. I do spray paint my bases with a white matte primer from Home Depot. When you are working with Crystalac, you need to give yourself a full 48 hours minimum to let your stuff gas off. When I order my cups, I sand them and I spray them the second that I get them in, and then they basically just sit there until I get an order. So these guys will sit for at least a week before I ever use them. So do not apply acrylic paint directly to your base. It will peel up, you will have problems. So I have already applied my bright tone. As you can tell, it's super shiny and glossy. I let it spin for a couple of minutes just to kind of let it do its thing. It is self-leveling, so if you apply it and it has streaks, don't worry about it because it will fix itself. I don't like to apply it apply my glitter when I first put my bright tone on the cup, just in case if I accidentally put too much and then you put the glitter on, your glitter is going to run and then you have one spot that's built up more than any other spots. So I like to try and make sure that it's kind of leveled out and even before I start putting my glitter on. So we're just applying the glitter. Now, what I am gonna do, I'm gonna attempt it, because like I said, anytime you use spray paint with Crystalac, you have to let it gas off for 48 hours. But these Motherhood cups require multiple layers of spray paint. And I don't know about you, but customers, they're not too eager to be told that they have to wait a long time for their cups. So I am going to attempt this Jurassic Park cup using acrylic paint. And all I have to wait for is just until the acrylic paint dries, instead of having to wait 4 days to be able to peel the decals off and actually start applying my bright tone to the cup. So we're gonna try it out and hope like hell that it works. And if it doesn't, well then you get to witness my failure and hopefully learn from them. That would definitely be ideal. So I know a lot of people try and throw their glitter onto the bottom of their cups. I don't really like that because then you just get glitter everywhere. So there's a little pile that has accrued from me dumping my glitter. So I just take my bottom and mash it down into that pile. Kind of roll it around to get up on the edges. And it's perfectly coated. I hate really lengthy tutorials, so I'm gonna try and not just blabber on the whole entire time. I'm just kind of smashing my cup down in the glitter because for some reason I didn't get as good coverage as I wanted, so I'm just rolling it through here. I have watched tutorials on this before I got started, just so that I wouldn't be in over my head. So I understand that if it doesn't look absolutely perfect, that is okay, because a lot of this is just going to be covered with paint anyways. So I am going to let this dry. Probably for a couple of hours. I'm gonna spray it with my E6000 here. That way when I may do another coat of this gold, because let me see if I can show you. Some of the yellow is poking through, and I don't really like that very much. I wouldn't like that as a customer, so I'm gonna let it dry. I'm gonna spray it with my E6000. I'm gonna apply another coat of this gold, let that dry, and then spray it with my E6000 again, so that way when I go over it with my bright tone, I'm not just smearing glitter all over the place. So I will come back at you when we are ready to put some bright tone on. Alrighty, so we are back, and this cup is looking absolutely glorious. Since I'm gonna have to be putting vinyl over this, I don't want it to look super bumpy, so I'm going to keep applying my bright tone until I get this nice and smooth. Then I'm gonna have to leave it sit overnight. That way when I put the vinyl on and try to take that transfer tape off, I've actually had it to where I've jumped the gun and I've actually ripped glitter off and paint. So don't be like me. Don't be super impatient. Let it fully dry, and when we come back, we will be putting on our vinyl and then painting over it. Alright guys, we are back. We got the vinyl on, and the customer actually has 4 kids, and she wanted the names on the back, so I went ahead and staggered those. I will say this, if you have not done one of these cups before, avoid it at all costs. I have only gotten as far as putting the vinyl on, and it is already a massive pain in the ass. I have a Cricut, so that's what I use to cut all this stuff out. But something that you don't realize when you're cutting this out is this dinosaur has teeth, and you can only go so big on a tumbler, and these tiny little baby letters here at the bottom is a walk in the park. It'll make you lose your mind, guys. It's atrocious. I wish there was a way, and maybe there is, maybe somebody can watch this video and enlighten me. But I wish there was a way to actually like make the Cricut cut slower. I know there's a fast option where you can like cut it super duper fast. But I wish there was a delicate, please for the love of God, take your time, don't rip my vinyl all to crap option. But I don't think that there is. So anyways, so we got it ripped off. Took me maybe 20 or so minutes to cut it all out and then put it on the cup. So I'm doing something different. I haven't seen a tutorial for this. It's possible that I just wasn't looking good enough. I don't know. That's entirely a possibility. But we're going to do it with acrylic paint because, like I said, I don't want to have to wait 4 days for this stuff to gas off so that I can use my bright tone. So I'm going to put my black on first. I'm going to stick this in front of a fan. Wait until it gets dry. Then I'm going to put my white on over it. And then we're going to rub it off that way. So I'm already kind of crying on the inside because this cup, just as is right now, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's like a champagne rose gold color. And like you can already see the shine that it has. It's beautiful, and I'm cringing on the inside that I have to cover all of this. But let's go for it. Let's do it. But anyways, make sure that you use removable vinyl. Please, in the name of all that is holy, do not use permanent vinyl. Get you some Cricut removable vinyl, or it doesn't have to be Cricut. I also used to use Joann's vinyl, and can we just bow our heads in a moment of respect for the fact that Joann's no longer sells their own vinyl, which was so much better and so much cheaper than Cricut, and now they don't do it anymore, so that sucks. But make sure your vinyl is smushed down so that you don't get crazy bleeds. I'm trying to not plop this paint directly on top of the letters because that's just going to encourage bleeding. But this vinyl is going to be a pain to try and see and then pick out. I'm going to try and make these layers as thin as possible. That way I can actually see the vinyl that I'm supposed to be tearing up. Because I'm going to tell you, it's already really hard to see, and we are only one layer in. So, again, if you can avoid doing this cup at all costs, I would highly recommend it. Or if you want to charge, I don't know, a couple $1,000s to do it, I would recommend that as well. Depending on how this turns out, this may be my last dinosaur Jurassic Park cup, because I'm already crying on the inside that I have to cover all this beautiful, gorgeous glitter. I did ask the customer, I was like, hey, since this glitter looks absolutely beautiful, do you mind if we kind of wipe up quite a bit of the paint and let the glitter show through? And she's like, I don't know. And I'm like, that's fair, because I don't know either. So we'll see when we get there and we rip all this vinyl up, how much glitter she wants to expose. But I'm going to finish this black. That way you don't have to watch me paint on this black. I'm going to try and leave this bottom the gold color just to have more glitter. And then we're going to come back when it's time to apply the white. Okay, I did want to say I kind of figured out a method that's pretty nice with this acrylic paint. So I've painted it all black, and I'm kind of going back through, and it's called dry brushing. Just going over it with a dry brush, and it's actually taking a spot where I may have put a really thick layer of black and taking quite a bit of paint off of the vinyl so that I can see it a little easier. I just thought I would share that. Not to mention, obviously, if we're going to be rubbing globs of this off, it's probably ideal to have thin layers anyways. But here is my bumpy mess. I got my handy dandy little fan here. I'm going to start spinning it, turn my fan on. This will probably be dry in about 5 minutes, I'd say, and then we're going to come back and put that white on there. Alright, our black is dry. I went ahead and scoot the camera up a little bit just in case you wanted to actually see. I mean, that's not why people look up videos on YouTube, right? Is to actually see anything. So it's nice and dry, rub-a-dub-dub, no black on my fingers. So we're going to shake up this white. It is dry enough that it should not bleed and give me a gray kind of mixed color. Now, let's hope that I just have to do one layer. I really don't want to have to do, crap. No, I'm going to have to do more than one layer. Oh, okay. Well, I was hoping to reduce the amount of layers of paint that I would need, but of course, white over black. Oh, that's just not going to happen. So, all right. Well, just so you're not sitting around watching a tutorial as long as one of the Star Wars movies, I'm going to go ahead and paint this and then just come back once it's fully painted. I just realized, for those of you who don't know, the average run time for a Star Wars movie is about 2 hours. So the only reason I know that is because I got roped into watching the whole series against my will. So I know I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of hate from Star Wars fans out there. It wasn't my cup of tea. It wasn't bad. I wouldn't sit down and watch them again, if I'm being honest. I'm more of a Harry Potter fan. But anyways, this cup is almost finished. And, well, I mean, at least this layer. Ha! Cup is almost finished. That's a laugh. Anyways, this layer is almost finished. Okay, well, we got a decent white coat on here. Again, I would like to reiterate by reiterate. Yeah, I think that's the proper term. By saying, I am not a professional. I have no clue what I'm doing on this cup. This is literally the first cup that I've ever done that's like this. I did technically do this one, so I would imagine it's about the same concept. Oh, hell. So I'd imagine it's the same concept, except the only difference is I put the black paint on and then I took the vinyl off while the paint was still wet. You are obviously not able to do that with this cup because we have to put so many freaking layers of paint. So hopefully it comes out as beautifully as this. If not, then I have stated my disclaimer that I have no clue what I'm doing. So you guys are forewarned. We are traveling this terrain together. So let's cross this river and hope that we don't drown. Let's hope it's shallow enough to walk across it. All right, well, once again, bringing out my handy dandy little fan. We will be back in a few minutes and put that hopefully second and last white layer on. Okay, well, it's looking like this second coat is going to do it. which is freaking awesome. I'm going to try and eliminate as much brush strokes as I can, because obviously we want it to look flawless. So I'm trying to keep my strokes going the same direction. And then after, let me scoot you up a little bit more. There we go. After we get this coat down, I'm gonna actually start working on pulling up the vinyl while the paint is still wet. Just to kind of make it a little easier to pull up, because obviously the more coats of paint that we do, the more that vinyl is going to hold on like a mother. So I'm trying to apply this quickly because acrylic paint dries very fast, even when you don't put a fan in front of it. And then not only am I working against it drying while I'm still putting paint on the rest of the tumbler, but then I also want it at least somewhat wet while I pull the vinyl off. So, by the way, don't be like me. I'm using this cheap, crappy chip brush from Home Depot, and all the little freaking horse hairs get all over the tumbler and get wedged in the paint. I have so many strands of whatever the hell this thing is made of in the paint that I'm also going to have to pick off. So that will be quite fun. All right, well, here comes the fun part, which is trying to pick off all of this vinyl while trying to also not mess up the paint. I like to use, I don't even really remember where I got these tweezers, but some really, really, really sharp tipped tweezers, and then just this little Cricut stabby thing. I don't know what else to call it. We'll call it the stabby thing. If you have a Cricut, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I do need as much light as possible for this process, so I'm actually going to cut the camera. I feel like you get the idea on how to take the vinyl off, but I don't want to leave you with poor quality. I mean, I guess I can take off one for the camera's sake. So you want to take your Cricut stabby thing, which I believe is its official name, and try and just get up under that vinyl. I like to wipe the tip of it off before I stick it back on there. That way I'm not getting paint up under the vinyl. But once you get up under there, grab your tweezers, pull it up. Ta-da! There you go. We have a foot. It's messy. I'll clean it up, but you get the idea. So I'm going to keep going. This is probably going to take me for freaking ever, and then I will come back once I get all the vinyl up. Alright, well, just to give you an idea, this beast took me 30 minutes to get all the vinyl off. I am going to say this. I like the idea, I like the concept, I like how it looks. However, this will be the last cup like this that I will do, because holy smokes. I do see quite a few imperfections. Hopefully those will kind of level out once I put my bright tone over it and I start scrubbing away some of the white paint. I do have to make my kids some dinner though, so I will come back and scrub away with some water and like a cotton ball or something, just to try and get some of this gold to peek through, and we will see how it goes. Alright, well, here she is. Not too bad. I see now why people use spray paint, especially with this white, because as I was scrubbing, you can see in some areas where the black actually bled onto the white paint. Not to mention the product that I work with is water-based. So when I use water to try and scrub the paint off, it actually makes that clear coat kind of hazy. So I'm hoping that when I go over it with my product, it'll get rid of some of that haze. I'm going to let it dry. I'm hoping it's just hazy because it's wet. I'm going to let it dry overnight before I touch it with anything. But for sure, this is the first and last cup I will ever do that is like this, because it was a lot of work and the end result isn't really that great in my opinion. I do hope for the best though. I hope this ends up turning out, but as of right now, I don't like it. I will check to see how the customer feels about it. This may just be a cup that I completely strip down and redo, but all in all, this is it right here. This is it. I guess I will check back in with you guys tomorrow after it's dried. Let me go ahead and flip that angle so you can actually see what I'm talking about. So you can kind of see what I'm talking about here, how it's like really hazy, especially right here. And some of that black paint got onto my clear coat. That one's not too bad, but you see right there where I'm talking about where that black paint bleeds onto that white paint. So I see now why there are not, this part is really bad. I may have to sand that down, but I see why there are not tutorials using acrylic paint. Unfortunately, some of that black didn't come all the way up. Unfortunately though, the Crystalac that I use is not really spray paint friendly. And something that I was thinking about that I didn't think about initially is I had to do 2 coats of this white just to even cover the black acrylic. So you have to wait 48 hours after each spray paint coat. So I don't think there's any spray paint out there that's not oil-based that would cover straight black. So that is 3 coats. So I'd have to do black and then 2 coats of the white, possibly even a third if that white spray paint did not cover the black fully. And if you use regular epoxy, I don't think it's too bad. As soon as it's dry, you can slap some epoxy on there. But with this, it's 2 days between each coat. So that's 6 days just to spray paint. And then it took me 30 minutes just to remove all of this vinyl. That's not the time that it took to print it out, put it on the cup. That's not including the time to glitter the whole thing. And that's still not including all of the layers that I'm going to have to go over with this if she ends up liking it. So these things take a lot of time. Be very, very aware of that if you choose to make a cup like this. Out of all the tutorials that I watched for these things, they did not state that these things are super, super time consuming. So I can't stress that enough. Very, very time consuming. Definitely make sure you charge a decent amount for this. The area that I am in, typically a 30-ounce tumbler goes for around $40. I charged her $55 to do this. I have not looked around to see what other people in my area would charge. I don't know if I'm competitive. I don't know if I'm too expensive or not expensive enough. I don't know, but I do feel like for the amount of work that goes into this versus other cups that I do for $40, this was very labor intensive. And again, I'm not even done yet. So I'm going to send photos to the customer. If she likes it, then I'm going to wait until tomorrow, maybe sand down these hazy parts, try and get some sort of shine back, because I have a feeling if I go over this and it's hazy, it's just going to stay looking hazy, and I don't really want to give out a poor product. So that is my update after peeling all the vinyl off and rubbing some peekaboo spots. Alrighty guys, this is the finished product. I did text over photos of the tumbler to the customer. She absolutely loves it. She loves the distressed look, and even in parts where I didn't really like what was happening, like the black smearing, she likes it. She likes the black kind of peeking through. Like I said, she likes the rustic distressed look. So so far I have, I think, 3 coats of my bright tone on here. I do feel some bumps, so I'm going to give this another 2 hours, and then I'm going to lightly sand it. You want to sand it with 400 grit sandpaper and just do it very, very lightly. Essentially what you're doing is just getting off some rough spots and essentially buffing it. And then when you go back over with more layers of your bright tone, then that's when you get that feel where it just feels like glass. So again, never doing one of these again, even though the customer likes it. I absolutely despised it. Giant pain in the butt. Or if I do it next time, I will actually use spray paint like I'm sure you are supposed to. And then just let the customer know, hey, it's going to take, days, like maybe even, typically, like I said, I do 7 days out from the day after deposit. I may need to be like, this is going to be a full 2 weeks. But anyways, here she is. Not bad. I do like that little peekaboo glitter on the bottom that I did. That's really cool. I like that I kept that in there. Just kind of bring some more of this gold out. Those hazy spots that were there last night, crystal clear. I just buffed them with my 400 grit sandpaper and it came right out. I even went over, I think this area had that black paint in it. I went over it with some acetone really, really, really lightly. That got it out. So now they're just really shiny, really gold, really pretty. It looks good, but I'm done. I'm tapping out. I'm going to go out on top. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, post it down in the comment box below, and I will help you to the best of my non-professional abilities.